Greetings to you aspirants. Welcome to today's current affairs session of Civilspedia. The topics that we're going to discuss today are Graded Response Action Plan and about EPCA, the Environmental Pollution Prevention and Control Authority, about the H1N1 virus, and about the basic countries and the likely minded developing countries under the prelims topic. And under the editorial topic, we'll be discussing about hamstringing the RTI Act. What are the implications of the proposed amendments to the RTI Act of 2005? So let's start with the prelims topic today. First topic is the Graded Response Action Plan and the EPCA, which is nothing but the Environmental Pollution Prevention and Control Authority. So what are the key words that we need to see in this particular topic is about NCR, the National Capital Region of Delhi, and about EPCA, the Environmental Pollution Prevention and Control Authority, and about GRAP, the Graded Response Action Plan. So what was the recent news with regards to this particular topic is this emergency pollution plan, which is nothing but the Graded Response Action Plan, has been started again in Delhi for this particular year 2018, as the air pollution is on the rise in the capital region of Delhi. So the first keyword is the National Capital Region. A National Capital Region is nothing but those regions not only under the state of Delhi, but also in the adjoining states, the districts in the adjoining states of Delhi. This is Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, the western part of the Uttar Pradesh, and two districts in the state of Rajasthan. So it is approximately a 100-kilometer radius surrounding Delhi. 100-kilometer radius surrounding Delhi. So this is the National Capital Region of Delhi. And something about the Environmental Pollution Prevention and Control Authority. This is Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority. So this was set up in the year 1998 by a Supreme Court order. So it is a statutory body under the Environmental Protection Act of 1986. It consists of a chairman plus 13 members. So this is the important point here. So in the year 2018 UPSC Prelims, there was a question regarding FSSAI. So about the mandate of FSSAI and about its functioning. So the question was regarding the functioning, that it is working under the Directorate General of Health and Family Welfare, but it is actually a autonomous body. It has its own chairman. So you can expect question on this lines. It has a separate chairman plus 13 members and its functioning is autonomous, although it is a statutory body under this particular Ministry of Environmental, Forests and Climate Change. So this particular ministry has empowered the Environmental Pollution and Prevention and Control Authority to enforce the Graded Response Action Plan in the National Capital Region of Delhi since the year 2015. It does not have its own office. It functions from the Central Pollution Control Board office present in the state of Delhi. So about the Graded Response Action Plan. So let's split this into three. So it is an action plan in response to the air pollution. So it is graded. Graded as in it is categorized. Categorized into 4 based on the air quality index parameters. So they have taken the particulate matter of 2.5 and the particulate matter of 10. So they have some levels at various categories. So if the air quality index falls into these levels, it is categorized as moderate to poor or very poor or severe plus or emergency. Based on this, the action plans have been shared. So all these action plans have been prepared since 2015, and once the air quality degrades to these levels every year, this particular graded action response plan is being mooted by the EPCA. So it will notify to all the secretaries of the adjoining states of Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Rajasthan and also the capital region of Delhi to initiate the action plans. So for example, category wise, if you see the minimum category is the moderate to poor, so it has to stop the garbage burning. For example, and stop flying of visibly polluting vehicles. So this particular action plan and this particular functioning of the EPCA is very instrumental. So it banned the movement of the diesel vehicles through its order, through its government order, particular order of the EPCA. So its decisions are quite instrumental. There was also an issue that EPCA asked the Delhi Metro to reduce the fares in the previous year, 2017, but there was some particular content in that particular issue. So like this, the action plans are being prepared by the EPCA and implemented by the EPCA. So, for example, it has to stop the use of the diesel generator sets when the air quality is graded as very poor. And for example, entry of trucks, except those carrying the essential commodities, is banned inside the capital region of Delhi. And now the Eastern Peripheral Expressway has been constructed. So it's basically bypass to the city of Delhi from north to the south. So all the vehicles has to move through this expressway so that the air quality level will be on the rise inside the state of Delhi. With this, we are moving on to the next topic, H1N1 virus. So in my previous class, we had a set of keywords for studying the Zika virus or for studying any disease in particular. So what are the keywords? I'm using the same format. What are the keywords to be kept in mind for examination point of view? So first is the disease type. If it is a viral, bacterial, or any other parasitic disease, and is it a vector-borne disease, and what are the areas of occurrence, whether it occurs in the tropical regions, subtropical regions, temperate regions, or the alpine regions, and what are the possible illnesses, likely illnesses to be caused because of this particular disease. So let's move on with the H1N1 virus. First, we'll see the disease type. So this particular virus comes under the orthomyxovirus family. Orthomyxovirus family. So if we see what is the meaning of this particular word in Greek, it is straight and this is mucus. So orthomyxovirus family. So there are many types of viruses under this particular family. Influenza A, B, C, D, and some 3 more types of viruses under this particular family of virus. So influenza A is one such virus. It is also called as the H1N1 virus. So we need to know what is H and what is N. H is nothing but the heme agglutinin. So it is a protein which is responsible for the binding of the red blood cells inside the body and the virus. So the viruses and the red blood cells all bind together. So this heme agglutinin is responsible for that. And N is the neuraminidase enzyme which aids the locomotion of this particular virus inside the body to spread from the infected cells to the healthy cells. So this is the enzyme aiding the locomotion of the virus. And next thing was, is it a vector-borne disease? It is not a vector-borne disease. This we need to keep in mind. So if a question comes like, what are the vector-borne diseases? They have given some 4 diseases like swine flu, then chikungunya, swine flu, Zika virus, typhoid, or cholera, and they ask if it's a vector-borne or a not vector-borne. H1N1 or the influenza A virus or swine flu is not a vector-borne virus. This you need to keep it in mind. Next thing is area of occurrence. In the year 2009, the World Health Organization has classified swine flu as a pandemic disease. Pandemic is worldwide. So worldwide there are incidences of this particular disease which is very common amongst the populations. If you see, it happened in the year 2015 in India. It almost killed 1,500 people here. And around 2010, it affected the United States of America. So why it is a pandemic? Because the strains of this particular virus has been mutated. So the strains are localized to the continent of North America, to the continent of Asia, to the continent of Europe. But when they tested for this particular H1N1 strain in the year 2010, this was seen to be mutated, containing the genes of the European variant and the Asian variants. So hence it was declared as a pandemic. So it is consistently mutating. This we need to keep it in mind. And transmission happens from humans to humans. It is not from the pigs or the swines as we call it the swine flu, it does not happen from the animals to humans. If it is from animals to humans, it is called a zoonotic flu. Animals to humans, it is called as a zoonotic flu. This you need to keep it in mind. So H1N1 virus is not a zoonotic flu. Its transmission happens from humans to humans. So what are the modes of transmissions? As you can see here, it is a mucus. Mucus means the saliva part of the body or any other liquid that is present within the body. So it can happen through transmission of saliva. So when a person coughs, the saliva is bound to affect another person because of the splattering of the saliva. And because of hugging, if an infected person is likely to contract this particular virus to a healthy individual. And if a healthy individual is not washing his hands properly, then he is likely to get in touch with this particular H1N1 virus. So washing hands is one thing. Then if he's using the infected bed rugs. So there are many modes of transmissions. The important one is the saliva, hugging, and improper washing of hands. And if he's using the infected bedspreads. So what are the likely symptoms because of this particular H1N1 virus is the fever, sore throat, cough, and the body aches. Body aches include your headache to the entire pain in the body. So these are the likely symptoms. And there is a medicine, there is a cure for this particular H1N virus. So it is called as the oseltamivir, which is a functional component in that particular tablet. The brand name is Tamiflu. So this was given to a variety of population in the state of India, when in 2015 people were contracted with this H1N1 virus. So it basically targets the pregnant women, elderly above 65 years of age, to the small children, and also people suffering from respiratory ailments, and also people who are having diabetes mellitus. So these are the possible population which are likely to get affected. So this particular drug, how it acts is, it targets this neuraminidase. It basically blocks the action of this particular enzyme. So the locomotion of the virus is being stalled. So this is how this mode of functioning of this particular drug. So this is all about the H1N1 virus that we need to keep it in mind. With this, we are moving on to our next topic, the basic countries and LMDC countries. So the 2018, the Conference of Parties 24, under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, is about to take place in Katowice, Poland. Katowice, Poland, in the month of December 2019. So we are likely to get many news regarding this particular Conference of Parties, particularly regarding the Paris Climate Deal and about the countries such as basic countries, LMDC countries, the developed nations versus the developing nations. So such news are likely to come recurrently in the coming months. So what was the news? The news is, ahead of climate talks, India is in touch with 40 countries to forge ties and make developed nations keep promises. So it is always between the developed nations versus the developing nation. Developed versus the developing nations. So both these are the national groupings of different countries, different groupings, basically basic and the LMDC, in the developing countries arena. So when we are studying about these countries, two key words that we need to keep in mind are the genesis and the agenda. So we'll move on to this particular topic. First is the basic countries. Basic countries was formed in the year 2009 under the Copenhagen Agreement. So when there was meeting to the Kyoto Protocol, Copenhagen Agreement came into place and these basic countries formed a grouping. So what are basic countries? It is the Brazil. AS is South Africa, the Republic of South Africa, and I stands for India and C for China. So these four countries form the grouping called the basic countries, and they represent three different continents: Brazil for South America, South Africa for the African continent, and India and China for the Asian continents. So it is a geopolitical alliance. There are two basic agenda for this particular alliance. First is the emission reductions and the climate finance. with regards to the developed countries who have to finance regarding for the renewable energy needs or the mitigation measures of the developing countries. So these both are the important things that you need to keep in mind when we talk about the basic countries. So this is post the Paris climate deal when it comes to place in the year 2020. This is all you need to keep in mind when we are discussing about basic countries. Second thing is the likely minded developing countries. Likely minded developing countries. Developing countries. I've abbreviated this. So it is a grouping of 24 countries, and these 24 countries do not always come in unison to give any statements or to work towards their cause. So there are always some 10 to 11 or say 15 countries with different groupings inside this particular LMDC countries when it comes to different contexts. And this LMDC countries are temporary groupings when they discuss about the UN charters, about the World Trade Organization negotiations, about the negotiations with respect to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So based on this, the grouping is likely to change. And the emission gap report is being released by the United Nations Environment Program every year since the Paris climate deal is in place. So for the year 2017, this particular report has told that even if the developing countries take this emissions gap reducing measures, the average temperature of the earth is likely to exceed 3 degrees Celsius. So what is the strategy for the developing countries to reduce the emissions before the Paris climate deal is in place? That is before 2020. What is the strategy? So the developing countries are particularly insisting this reduction in the emissions before the 2020. So this is the agenda of this likely minded developing countries. So this is post 2020 and this is before the 2020, and this is all that you need to keep into mind. With this, we are moving on to our main topic, the periodical topic, the editorial topic, hamstringing the RTI Act. RTI Act is the Right to Information Act. Right to Information. So it is a constitutional right guaranteed by the Constitution of India under the Article 19 Section 1, which is nothing but the right to freedom of speech and expression, and also as per the Article 21 right to life. But you can also debate it to be a legal right as per the Right to Information Act 2005, which is a landmark legal right enacted by the Parliament of India. Enacted by the Parliament of India. So it can either be a legal right or a constitutional right. It is a debatable matter. So it is a powerful tool for empowering the citizens of India, any citizens of India, irrespective of his caste, creed, sex, and whatever. So it has brought landmark achievements for example, in the Commonwealth Games of 2010, regarding the improper functioning of this Commonwealth Games and the 2G spectrum allocations and the coal block allocations. It has brought all the irregularities into the limelight with the help of this RTI Act. Now, there is a lacuna in this particular RTI Act. One thing is the decisions which are given by the Central Information Commissioners and the State Information Commissioners. So under this Act, there are two commissions, one at the center and the other at the states. So at the center, it is the Central Information Commission, and at the states, it is the State Information Commissions at every state. So this you need to keep into mind. One thing is, they give the orders under this RTI Act to be implemented by the public authorities of the respective state bodies or the central bodies. But with regards to the implementation of that particular decision, this cannot be controlled by these commissioners who are at the center or at the states. So this is a weaker link. This we need to keep into mind. So some of the amendments have been proposed under this particular RTI Act of 2005. First thing is to do away with the equivalence of the Central Information Commissioner and the Election Commissioner. Now you need to know about the Election Commissioner. It is a constitutional post under the Article 342 of the Constitution of India, whereas this particular CIC, Chief Information Commissioner, is a statutory post. He has got its own perks, salaries, allowances, and about his functioning under the RTI Act of 2005. The central government wants to do away with this particular thing, telling that since this is a constitutional post and this is a statutory post, greater autonomy for CIC is not essential, and it wants to do away with the autonomy. So the autonomy of this particular institution will be under question mark. Second thing is to alter the fixed 5-year tenure of this information commissioners and the salaries and the allowances. So this will move on to be as prescribed by the government once the amendment is done. So now from the act to the government, from the legislation to the executive. So executive will have more authority over the chief information commissioners. So the independence and the authority of the chief information commissioners will be under question mark. Since the appointments are done by the executive, they are most likely to act by the executive's wishes and demands. And the third thing is Justice Sri Krishna Committee on Data Protection. He sought for an amendment to the RTI Act under the definition of harm. So this particular definition, if it is being amended, it will create an imbalance between the privacy and the transparency. Now we need to know what is the balance between the privacy and the transparency in this particular Right to Information Act. So any personal information, if it is not of public interest, it shall not be shared by that particular agency from whom the individual seeks the information. So the privacy of that particular individual is maintained. But if that personal information is really needed and if it has dealt with the public interest, then that particular personal information has to be shared by that particular body. So there was a very thin balance between the privacy and the transparency. But now, if this particular amendment comes, even if that personal information is of public interest, it need not be shared. So it will always create an imbalance between the privacy and the transparency. So this is the bone of content in this particular amendment. So these are the major amendments that have issues if being amended. Second thing is the executive actions, the present executive actions. So both at the center and the state, the information commissions have a strength of 11 members. Now if you see at the center, it has a strength of 7 members, and out of which 4 members are likely to be retired by the end of this year, which will leave with just 3. So enough strength for the information commissions are not there. Along with that, there is a delay in the disposal of cases because of this one thing. And second thing is backlog in the high courts due to the challenging. One thing is initiating the fresh cases and finishing it off. But the same question is again being upheld or challenged by the opposite parties. So this creates a backlog and delay in the disposal of cases. This is the executive action and the likely actions because of the executive actions. Next thing is clogging of the system. As such, there are some irregularities in the system, or as such, there are some issues in the system. First thing is frivolous queries are made by the disgruntled public employees. Say a public employee, if he is working under a public body, and if he is not okay with the functioning of this public body, now he raises incognito and RTI to find the answers for his queries. So this is leading to the burden of the system. And section 4 of RTI, which deals with the suo motu disclosure by the public bodies. So it is not at all satisfactory if we see in the current scenario. So for example, the the Central Information Commission had to direct the Prime Minister office to know that who are the persons who travel with the Prime Minister of India, under the government exchequer's money. So this was one issue where the Central Information Commissioner had to direct the Prime Minister's office to give a suo motu disclosure. Suo motu is nothing but willingly. So I have to willingly come forward to disclose regarding the matters. This is the suo motu disclosure, and it is like now it is almost moving from a yeoman service to a grievance redressal mechanism. Yeoman service is a proactive measure where an individual or an RTI activist want to know regarding whatever his agenda is. He wants to extract the information from the government. So it is also a proactive step where he can work on with that particular information extracted ahead. Where now it is more or less becoming a reactive, where the information commissions have to direct the public bodies to redress the grievances of the public who are raising the issues through RTA. So more or less increasing the burden of the commissions. So this is all about this, and there are always opportunities are way ahead for the effective functioning of the information commissions. First thing is, a wide public debate is required to improve the effective functioning of the information commissions. Second thing is, the private institutions should also be brought under the ambit, because now only those private institutions which are being funded by the government are under the ambit of RTA. For example, the NGOs. But the other private institutions can also be brought under the ambit of RTA to improve the transparency and accountability in the government system. Third thing is, the political parties should also be brought under the ambit. When the RTI was implemented in the year 2005, 6 major political parties of India, Indian political parties were under the ambit of RTI, but this was struck down by the amendment of the government, the legislative organ. Indirectly nothing but the political party which is in power in the year 2013. The same government which enacted this particular RTA Act of 2005 struck down this particular clause in the year 2013. So this political parties must be brought under the ambit of RTA to increase the transparency and the accountability of the system. And if possible, right to information can also be brought under the Constitution of India through a Constitutional Amendment Act. Because it is just a proposal which you are going to propose in your mains exam point of view, you can obviously give this point. And once, if it is a constitutional amendment, if it's a constitutional body, it will be more autonomous. The functioning will be more autonomous. Autonomous in the sense, CAC will now be equivalent to the Election Commission. So a Constitutional Amendment Act is desired. So these are some of the opportunities are way ahead for the implementing, for the effective improvement in the functioning of the Right to Information Act. With this, we are winding up our today's classes. Thank you. Please do subscribe, like, comment, and share the below video. Stay focused and motivated. Thank you.